The night she crawled into his bed, the desert wind had already been whispering warnings for hours, sliding through the cracked window like a living thing, carrying the scent of dust, sage, and something ancient that refused to be named. And he had been awake long before he felt the mattress dip under her weight, long before her bare skin brushed his arm, long before her breath slow, deliberate settled against his shoulder as if she had always belonged there, because silence had become his shield, ever since he returned from the canyon with blood on his hands and questions in his soul. And when she spoke, her voice was low, steady, almost reverent, saying she needed to complete an Apache ritual before sunrise, a ritual of protection, of binding, of survival, and that she had no other choice but to lie beside him wearing almost nothing, because cloth would break the connection. And he said nothing, not because he didn't feel the heat of her body or the shock of her presence, but because the elders had warned him that when the spirits test you, they do not ask for permission, they only watch to see whether you break. And she smelled of smoke and rain despite the drought, her hair spilling across his chest like ink, her fingers tracing symbols into his skin that made memories, surface memories of the night his brother disappeared, of the screams swallowed by the canyon, of the promise he made to stay away from old beliefs that modern men laughed at. Yet here she was, Maya, the woman who had arrived in town 3 days ago, with eyes too old for her face and scars she never explained, the woman who claimed she was running from something that couldn't cross sacred ground, the woman who now whispered that if he spoke, if he touched her, if he reacted at all, the ritual would fail and whatever followed her would claim them both before dawn. And as the hours stretched, the air grew heavier, the room colder, shadows shifting in ways that defied logic. He realized this was never about seduction, never about desire, but about choice, about whether he would remain silent, like the stone guardians, carved into the canyon walls, or give in to fear. And when the floorboards creaked, though no one walked, when something scraped gently against the outside wall as if testing the house, her breathing changed, becoming shallow, urgent, and she pressed closer, murmuring words in a language he half remembered from childhood ceremonies he was forbidden to attend after his father died, words that called on mountain spirits and star watchers. And in that moment he understood why the elders feared silence more than screams, because silence forces you to face yourself. And as he lay there unmoving while dawn bled slowly into the sky, he knew that whatever happened next would change the course of his life forever. And if you're feeling the weight of this moment, if you sense that something bigger is unfolding beneath the surface, this is your sign to stay with the story, because what comes next is where the truth reveals itself. So don't forget to subscribe, because some stories don't just entertain, they awaken something you didn't know was sleeping. When the first line of sunlight cut across the floor, like a blade, Maya stopped whispering and went completely still, her body tense as if listening to something far away, something retreating or circling back. And only then did he finally exhale, realizing his chest had been locked tight for hours, his heart pounding not with desire, but with the primal fear of a man standing at the edge of a world he didn't fully understand. And when she slowly sat up, pulling a thin blanket around herself, her eyes met his with a clarity that stripped away the mystery and left only exhaustion and truth, telling him the ritual worked, but at a cost, that by remaining silent, by allowing her presence without question, he had unknowingly bound himself to the protection circle, making him visible to forces he had avoided his entire life. And as she dressed, she explained that the thing following her was not a creature, but a consequence, something born from broken oaths and forgotten ceremonies, something that hunts those who deny where they come from. And he felt anger rise not at her, but at himself for pretending he could outrun his past, for believing the land didn't remember. And when she reached the door, she paused and warned him that silence would no longer save him, that the spirits only grant one night of mercy. And as she disappeared into the morning light, the house felt emptier yet heavier, the walls holding echoes of chants and warnings. And later that day, when the townspeople gathered and spoke of strange tracks near the canyon and animals refusing to drink from the river, he understood that the ritual was not an ending, but an invitation, one he could no longer refuse. And that night, as he stood alone beneath a sky crowded with stars, he finally spoke aloud for the first time since his brother vanished, promising to remember, to listen, to protect what remained, and in the distance the wind shifted, no longer threatening but watchful, as if acknowledging his choice. And this is where the story leaves you, not with answers neatly tied, but with the realization that some encounters are meant to wake you up, to remind you that silence has power, but so does acceptance. And if this story pulled you in, if it made you feel something deeper than words, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because the next story might be the one that finds you when you least expect it.
Subscribe to my channel.